Okay, so I'm going live here a couple seconds before I go live on my podcast page just to kind of set things up and check things out and make sure that, everything's in place for YouTube and it's all working. But this is actually going to be a simulcast of my podcast. So I'm kind of pretty excited about that. So give me a second to go live on the podcast app because it looks like I should be able to simulcast. So let's do this. Mm. All right, so here we are on the NX7062 podcast. I am your host, Stephanie K. Welcome to the simulcast because I am actually doing both. I am simulcasting to my brand spanking new YouTube channel as well as doing the podcast on Spreaker. And we're just going to kind of see how this works. There's a couple things that I was playing around with that didn't quite work. Hopefully in the ensuing weeks, I'll figure out how to make the audio play through so that I can do, some audio tricks between here and there. I'm actually thinking about doing a podcast about Trek actors doing commercials. Somebody kind of gave me the idea for that. So I'm thinking about doing something along those lines. That would kind of help if I could screen share and stuff. So there's definitely some video, quote unquote video only stuff that'll be fun to see when I finally get there. But like I said, this is kind of the testing ground for going live. So hello, this is what I look like when I am sitting in front of my computer podcasting. Don't always wear my NX7062 hat, but I figured since tonight's the first night that I'm doing YouTube, I might as well wear the hat. So hello. Let's start off with, as usual, filling you in. It is 90 days. The countdown is 90 days till Star Trek Las Vegas. It is still in the works. In fact, they actually added one more guest. A Voyager guest star was added, I guess, the other day because it went from 71 to 72. So they're still planning on it. I'm still planning on it. Knock on wood. Let's hope that it happens. We'll see. What else is going on? Oh, my past guest from the other night, Rico E. Anderson, loved having him on, and we chatted a little bit after the show was over because that is what I like to do. Kept him around. We actually chatted for like 45 minutes. After the show was over, which was very cool. We talked more about acting and podcasting and interviews and all that fun stuff. And I also mentioned to him that I have gotten into audiobooks, specifically, obviously, the ones that Dominic Keating does. Dominic has a really great reading of the Iliad that I have about 10 hours left of. It's like a 20-hour read because I don't listen to them consistently. I'm somebody, I have to be doing something. So if I'm cooking dinner, I've got my Audible on my Alexa. And so I listen off and on. In fact, I listened tonight while I was making dinner. But what Rico said is that Jonathan Frakes has done some. And he said what's really great is Crossover. It is a really good audiobook by Jonathan Frakes. And it's called Crossover, he said, because you got some of the original cast, some of the TOS characters are in it. Admiral McCoy's in it and Scotty's in it. So, and Jonathan just does really great with the voices of, he does a Picard, he does Geordi, he does all that fun stuff and in voices. So, definitely something to look for if you are into audiobooks, or if you're not into audiobooks, it's a really great way to get into audiobooks with some of your favorite actors. Benedict Cumberbatch does audiobooks as well for all of those who like a good British accent when having something read to them, like yours truly. Anything else I've got going on? 90 days to STLV crossover. I could pretty much end right now. I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to have a guest or not on tonight. I was kind of talking to my friends from Lambda Quadrant. They are amazing and they're a great fallback position. And believe it or not, even in these days of quarantine, all three of them, Nikki, Callie, and Randy, had other things to do tonight than sit and yap with me for an hour Go figure. It's all right. I still love them, and I can still talk about the Lambda Quadrant, being one of the founding members um, of said group. Sorry, something's distracted me in the back. So you get to see what distracts me. You get to hear now. If you're watching me on YouTube and you hear a noise on the podcast, you'd just be like, "What the hell was that?" But if you hear a noise while I'm on video, you can figure it out. This happens to be the dog Anakin crawling under my desk. Anyway. So we are continuing, Lambda Quadrant is continuing with their little Friday night get-togethers, these little happy hour, cocktail hours that we were using to introduce HoloCon. We had so much fun doing them that we're going to be doing them again this Friday night. And this time we're going to be offering a chance for you guys to play along because we're doing Jackbox, which I have to admit is something I have never heard of. I am not a big gaming person in any sense of the word. I tried to play Timelines on my phone, and I love the fact that Q is, narrating you through. And of course, I'm looking for enterprise stuff to pick up along the way, but not a huge gaming person. But Jack in the Box sounds, or I keep calling it that, Jackbox sounds fun. There's a variety of different games that you can play. I have no idea how to play it. But Callie does, and they are using their subscription to Jackbox, and then everybody else gets to kind of just jump on board, and I guess you can customize games, so we're going to customize them to go Trekkie style, so it's going to be a ton of fun, and that is going to be on Friday night, 9 to 11, I think, 9 to 11 East, which makes it 6 to 8 West. Hey, look at me doing math on the fly. And you should join us. And my website, my Facebook pages and stuff will have information. And of course, the Lambda Quadrant will have information. And Reed, there's Reed. Say hi, Reed. Yeah, I'm putting him on the spot. And for those of you that might have tuned into HoloCon, I don't know where Podcat is. He was around earlier. He may or may not be making appearances with me on the podcast. He is, after all, a cat, which means, he does things on his own time. But anyway, so here I am on video. See if anybody's actually watching me on YouTube. Probably not, which is okay. We just started out doing this. So if you are interested, if you're listening to me on Spreaker right now, I did tweet out the link to the YouTube channel, and I would love for you guys to start subscribing to the YouTube channel, because eventually what's probably going to happen is I'm probably going to shut the chatting off on Spreaker so that I can just concentrate on what's going on YouTube and chat there, especially if I have guests, because this is definitely going to be a thing now. I am going to be video chatting with guests, because admittedly Skype, which is what I've been using with Spreaker, which I thought was the only alternative for Spreaker. Hey! Hi, Domestic. How are you? Thank you so much for subscribing. Yay! My first subscriber. Thanks so much. And I love the Cookie Monster. I love the Cookie Monster. So anyway, oh shoot. Okay. So anyway, I would love to click the bell. Haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm sorry, but I do love you for subscribing. Is that good? I hope. I'm still learning the ropes, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm just so excited to see you here. Now that I've lost my train of thought. Oh, Skype. Yeah. So Skype, I thought, was the only way I could get somebody on. And thank you so much, Domestic. Yeah, I had a great time doing HoloCon. That was so awesome. And you know what? Are you going to join us? Lambda Quadrant has a thing on Friday night. I don't know when you got here, but we're doing a little cocktail hour Friday night. We're going to be playing games, so you'll definitely have to come to that too. So anyway, one of my guests had a huge problem with Skype and downloading and getting things set up, because not everybody's familiar with Skype, because Skype isn't the thing anymore. And I was so worried that this person was going to cancel because they were having issues with Skype. And I started thinking about the interface with Skype. And I thought, you know what? If you can get the interface with Skype to work the way it does with Spreaker, then why can't, like, not to get into the technical things, but this is like my old DJ brain kicking in, because I actually used to be like a karaoke DJ. So this is my old DJ brain kicking in about wires and what you can cross and connect. And I went, wait. So I figured out, well, wait, now I can do phone. So now I've got Google Phone for audio. But then I also thought, well, this StreamYard thing is so easy. StreamYard's great because all you got to do is send somebody a link, and all they need, they can do it on their phone. All they need is a camera and a microphone. So it's a no-brainer. Don't have to download anything, don't have to do anything, just log in and boom, you're on StreamYard. So I thought, well, if it's that easy, and it's easy-ish, considering the fact I've only been playing with it for a couple of days, and it's honestly because of HoloCon and just thinking about different ways to interact with everybody so we can all talk Star Trek and you can actually see my fandom. I was like, whatever, this is great. So I actually do have a phone number for the podcast. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to use it for yet, but it actually does end in 7062. I went into Google Voice, and I had a Google Voice number, and I went, if I'm going to do this for the podcast, I don't want just any old number. And I went into Google Voice, and it lets you search. So I typed in 7062, and it gave me a couple of choices. And it was $10 to change my number in Google Voice. And I thought, for $10 to get a 7062 phone number, hell yeah. So I do have a phone number for the podcast, which I may or may not give out. So you guys can actually call and leave me messages if you want, just to say hi, or if you have an idea for the show or a guest you'd like me to get on. I know everybody's probably saw on Twitter my little dream list of guests, my little wish list. And if you didn't see it, the people that I would love to have on the show, and if anybody out there has any pull with any of these people, I'd love for Jeff Combs to come on. I've asked him before. He said he doesn't do podcasts, but maybe he's really bored in quarantine and wouldn't mind maybe sitting down for a half an hour and killing some time with me. Jeff's amazing, and I would promise not to pick on him about his baseball choices because my Red Sox beat his Dodgers a couple years ago. Who else did I have? Oh, Dominic Keating, of course, is on the list. I interviewed him when we were in Vegas, but now Connor's one up on him. So, got to see if we can even the playing field on that. John Billingsley, I would absolutely love to have on the podcast as well. He did a video chat on Facebook. I don't know if it was for Wizard World, or I think it was for Wizard World, and it was a doctor's thing. It was supposed to be him and Robert Picardo and Gates McFadden doing this doctor's chat. And I didn't get a chance to tune in until later in the chat. And when I finally got there, poor John had dropped out. He was having the worst tech time. So for him, that's why I set up the phone number, because all he has to do, if he doesn't want to do a video chat, all he has to do is call in. And I would somehow maybe figure out a way so you guys could at least hear it on this end. I don't know, the audio things I'm having problems with. Domestic, do you have any questions, any Star Trek stuff, any trivia? I'm always up for a good little trivia battle, and I absolutely am here to socialize. And the kind of like the tagline for my podcast is definitely join the conversation. So I love the fact that you're here just listening to me prattle on. But if you have any questions or comments, do you like Enterprise? Let's start with that. Domestic, let me know. Do you like Enterprise? Or if you don't, it's okay. I promise I'm not going to kick you out or ban you. I promise everybody is allowed to their opinions, even if they're wrong. I've had actually conversations with the drag queen that works with Lambda Quadrant. Heather is a huge Voyager fan, if you haven't noticed, from her Janeway drag, which she does amazingly well. But she's a huge Janeway fan. Voyager just never did it for me. And I told her after HoloCon was over, I said, I actually did have to confess to Robert Picardo before we did the podcast that I'm not a huge Voyager fan. I think she was more offended than he was, because Robert just took it in his stride. And I said, it just never caught on. I said, I loved your performance. I thought the Doctor was a great character, but the show as a whole just never really caught on with me. And yes, you like a Domestic likes Enterprise. Yay. And look, I even figured out how to add it. Yay. I am so glad. Who's your favorite character? I love that you love that, or that you like it. That's awesome. And you're really helping me out, Domestic. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that you're helping me out here, because I'm learning how to, do things. And I see that I have a listener over in Spreaker, and I'm glad you can hear me in Spreaker. But if you want to see me, sweetheart, you got to go to the YouTube channel. Yeah, it was the last of the older show. Did you watch it in 2001 when it aired? Oh, hold on one second, folks. Got a tech difficulty here. Oh. Okay. All fixed. Oops, sort of fixed. Yeah, Enterprise aired from 2001 to 2005. It was the last of the old school, I guess you could call it, until Discovery came along. So it was the last. When it ended, it was just the end of an era that started with TNG, because when TNG started, up until Enterprise ended, there was Star Trek on television up until that point. So for Discovery was the next thing to come along. And yeah, I hope Chris heard me. Go to YouTube. So hold on one second while I see if this will work. So just having some fun, chilling out. All right, there we go. Okay. Let's see. Favorite, that is a no. There were too many to watch at the time. No, that's fine. Domestic, what was your favorite? We can absolutely talk about your favorite Star Trek. What was your favorite Star Trek that you like to watch? Or did you have one? A lot of people I have found, when you ask them what their favorite Star Trek was, they'll lean to whatever got them into whatever show got them into the franchise, whether it was TNG. And for a lot of people that came along and it was TNG, because I don't know. I know some people that were around when TOS aired originally. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. I know when TNG aired originally, that's around the time a lot of my friends were old enough to start watching, or however that works. DS9. All right, let's see. So Domestic's favorite is DS9. Gotta love DS9. I'm actually just rewatching it. It's my exercise. It's my exercise go-to on Netflix. I can't do my cardio and not have something to watch. So catching up on DS9 has been while I've been doing cardio. I'm only on season 2, but I'm really liking getting back into it. And I'm sort of kind of fulfilling a promise. Not that anybody remembers this, but I remember it. But back in 2016, and I love to go back to 2016 because that's kind of what reawakened my interest in Star Trek. Going to literally just stumbling across the 50th anniversary convention that happened to be 20 minutes from my house. And having the money to spend last minute. The cheapest thing I could get was a copper admission package, and I actually had the money at the time, so I spent the money, got the copper package. Still friends with my seat neighbors. That's the one thing about assigned seating at these conventions. If you can afford it and you can spend a weekend, or if you have the money to spend to get a weekend pass, a copper is the cheapest one that you can get that'll give you an assigned seat. And if you could end up becoming friends with your seat neighbors, which is awesome, and which is what I did. I ended up becoming friends with my seat neighbors, and I still follow them on Facebook. I haven't checked in with them in a while, but Patrick and Chris, if you ever listen to my podcasts ever, I love you guys and I miss you guys, and I need to check in with you. But anyway, that's the convention that sort of really got me back into Star Trek. And it's the reason that I love Star Trek. It's the reason I love Enterprise, is because I met Connor and Dominic that weekend, and we hit it off. We had fun singing together at karaoke. I actually sang We Can Work It Out. I did not sing Where My Heart Will Take Me. I sang We Can Work It Out. And it's also where I met Nicole DeBoer and Chase Masterson for the first time. And Chase actually had just started Pop Culture Hero Coalition, so I talked to her a little bit about that. Actually hit her up for a job, which is really funny considering that we're friends now. She didn't have any room for anybody at the time because they were just starting. She sang Pure Imagination in her panel, which is what prompted me to buy her Jazz Cocktail CD. And so anyway, so for meeting Chase and meeting Nicole and just hearing them at their panels and talking to them, I said to them both that they got me to want to rewatch Deep Space Nine. But they're both in later seasons, and I just won't jump. So I had to sit down, and I'm like, I have to sit down and watch everything. But I ended up watching Enterprise first. Sorry, girls. I ended up watching Enterprise first. And then, so Enterprise became my favorite. Oh, there we go. Just domestic, perfect. Absolutely. Live long and be kind. Chase would be so proud of you. That's awesome. So anyway, like I said, I'm kind of fulfilling the promise that I made to Nikki and Chase that I would eventually sit down and rewatch it. Although when Chase was coming on, I did watch her favorite episodes, which were Dr. Bashir, I presume, and Take Me Out to the Holodeck, or Take Me Out to the Holosuite. Both so much fun. So I'm really glad that I had a chance to watch them. And that also helped when Robert Picardo came on. Christopher Abbott, author and friend and past podcast guest, has joined us. And he said his favorite changes depending on what he's doing. So this is what he said. Right now, it's Enterprise. So that's awesome. You're rewatching season 1. What episode are you on, Christopher? I have to know because maybe I can do some commentary on that. Heroes and Icons just went back to the first season of Enterprise. I like watching Heroes and Icons. I like to kind of fall asleep listening to Enterprise. Not that I don't have the Blu-rays and not that it's not on Netflix, but that's what I do, except when it's that terrible last episode. Then I skip and find something else to watch. I can't watch These Are the Voyages. I'm not even sure when I get to that point on my Blu-ray collection if I'm going to watch it. Somebody pointed out in one of the Enterprise rooms, literally the last lines of Enterprise are uttered by Commander Riker when he says, holodeck and program. And that's just terrible way to end a series that he wasn't even really in. I am putting that up there, Chris, because that is one of my absolute favorite episodes. Absolute one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, domestic. I don't want to do any spoilers. But the show's been off the air for 15 years. Watch it if you're watching it for the first time in a long time. You have to watch it just so you know why everybody says it's terrible. It's kind of like, I heard that the last episode of Angel was really bad. And a friend of mine told me that, who had watched it. And I actually didn't get into Angel until after it was off the air and I was catching it on reruns. And she was absolutely right. But it was just something that you have to experience at least once. And then the next time you rewatch it, you can skip it. I actually have heard, Christopher, did you finish watching it or are you just about to watch it? Not that you'd care if there were spoilers, because like I said, the spoiler rule is anything after 48 hours of something airing, then you're good. Like, it doesn't count as a spoiler anymore. So the fact that the show is, over 15 years old, I feel like I can say this. It's 19 years old. I feel like I can say this. Dominic Keating, okay, just so you know, oh gosh, I don't know if I really want to say this because it's kind of a cute little, it's sort of going to spoil it. Do you remember it at all? Okay, cool. All right. One of my favorite things and something I found out, and I just never would have thought to ask Dominic Keating this because I don't usually talk to him about Enterprise stuff. I usually talk to him about other things that he's done. But the whole point of the B story on that was Lieutenant Reed's birthday and poor Hoshi running around trying to find out what his favorite food was. And Lieutenant Reed's favorite food turns out to be pineapple. And the way she found out was great. What else was great about that was the first time I rewatched it and found out that he was allergic to pineapple. I'm allergic to pineapple. So I thought that was really funny. But Dominic Keating doesn't like pineapple. So I just thought that when I found that out, I thought that was kind of funny. But the other thing that I found out, and this was in an interview, another podcast, I'm stealing interview quotes from another podcast, that Dominic actually got the people that played his parents. I know he got the mom. I can't remember if he got the mom and the dad both, but I know that he was friends with the woman that played his mom, and he got her as his mom. That was his suggestion. And I just don't remember if he did it for the dad too, but I know for a fact that he asked that the woman that played his mother was at his suggestion that he got her. And I love her. And she actually was just she played the fairy godmother last season on DC Legends of Tomorrow. And she did such a great job. And I went, oh my God, it's Malcolm's mom. But she was funny. She was really great in that role. And I wish I could remember her name, but that's okay. I have 3 viewers. I am so excited. This is so awesome. I'm having so much fun doing this. I wasn't sure, where this was going to go, but you know what? I absolutely, absolutely love just sitting here and just chatting at you all. This is so great. Even though I have to watch myself, and I'm really having fun playing with StreamYard, which is a really great service. If anybody else wants to use it, Christopher, maybe you and I will talk later about video stuff. But yeah, StreamYard's fun, and I can take the banners off and on, and I can change their colors. So all right, so yeah, Silent Enemy. The whole episode was great. The B story with Malcolm's birthday was really cute, but the whole thing about them doing it for themselves and not going back with their tails tucked between their legs because they knew the Vulcans were gonna, I think the whole first season of Enterprise, a lot of it was just about let's prove to the Vulcans that they were wrong and that we deserve to be out here. Which is really a great motivator. And I mean, it was a motivator to get the team to do on the ship something that Jupiter Station that they thought they could only get done at the Jupiter Station, and for them to sit down and do that was pretty freaking awesome. Another Enterprise thing that I want to talk about, and I didn't really touch on Monday because I had a guest, was that I did talk about it a little bit, but Star Trek Beyond had just some amazing Enterprise references. And it came out in 2016. And like I said, I didn't get back into Star Trek until I always liked Star Trek. And, if I was scrolling around and it was on, obviously I'd watch it. But like I said, that particular convention got me back onto the convention circuit in a huge way, and just reignited my passion for Star Trek in a big way. And like I said, having met and spent quote unquote quality time with, as opposed to just, hi, can I have your autograph, with Connor and Dominic and the karaoke thing, because karaoke just is such a bonding experience. To the point where Connor remembered me a year later when I went up to say hi to him in Las Vegas. My first Trek Vegas was 2017. And I walked up to his table and he went, I remember you. I was like, aw. So yeah, karaoke, woohoo! If you have a chance to do it and you're good at it, totally do it when you're at a creation event. Anyway, train of thought. Okay, so yeah, so I had seen Star Trek Beyond, but I hadn't really gotten back into Enterprise. So now, having gotten back into Enterprise and then watching Star Trek Beyond, all the little Enterprise Easter eggs were there, because the timeline. That's the beauty of it, is that the timeline got Kelvined in the era of TOS. So everything that came before that, which now includes Discovery, still happened, which means that when they were talking about the Franklin as the Warp 4 ship, this is why I don't understand why they gave the guy a Warp 4 ship when Warp 5 ships existed. That was a little something I didn't understand, but like what Rico said, the design of that ship was very close to the design of the NX-01. But the other thing was, if you watched the video logs from the Franklin that they played, the uniforms were very similar to Enterprise uniforms, except because the Federation had just started, they actually, Starfleet ended up, I guess, designing the Delta between, at that point. So the circle patch, instead of having the ship, it had the Starfleet Delta insignia, but it was still on the arm. And I was watching them run around in those old uniforms, and I went, "Aw." The fact that, when Idris Elba's character is yelling at Kirk and he says, I was a Mako, and I went, wait, Makos, okay. And the Makos were disbanded when the Federation formed, which, that was the military arm at the time of Starfleet, and then they disbanded it during the Federation. And he was talking about the Makos, he was talking about the Romulan War, he was talking about the Xindi, and I went, yes, Xindi, yes. Simon Pegg is a huge, and oh, wait, we got to broadcast this to the world. I mean, I know Simon Pegg's a huge Star Trek fan. I did not know he was specifically an Enterprise fan, but the fact that he wrote, or co-wrote, I should say, that makes sense then to have all that thrown in there. I am going to have to look that up. And then I'm going to have to approach Simon Pegg about doing my podcast. There's still social distancing in England, so maybe he's bored enough. I should just say, let's look at my logo. Look at everything that I do is Enterprise related. Please come on my podcast and talk about Enterprise. That would be great. In fact, he did a PSA very early on in the Corona social distancing, which was a takeoff on one of the scenes of Shaun of the Dead, which, if you haven't seen Shaun of the Dead, go watch Shaun of the Dead. It's great. It's a star. I love Shaun of the Dead. It's such a great spoofy zombie movie, and I adore Simon Pegg. At World's End is really good too. But he's doing this little PSA about staying inside and social distancing, and he was using one of the scenes from Shaun of the Dead, but at the end he comes on to talk about, in current time, and just talk about being careful and staying safe and protecting yourself. And he's got a Star Trek mug on his desk while he's talking, and I'm like, there you go, folks. Okay, you got to be a little more specific. Domestic, are you talking about in STLV this year or in 2019? Because yes, I do actually know the answer to that question if we're talking about the same karaoke show, which would be Enterprise Karaoke Show, Thursday, August 1st, 2019. I will answer that question if that's the specific show you're talking about. I'd be more than happy to tell you exactly who took over. Reed is still hanging out. You just can't see him because he laid down behind this box, which is really just recycling I need to take out. But yeah, I don't know where Podcat went. You know what? Because he's gotten so popular, he's probably just hiding it. Okay, well, first of all, let's start with the reason that I know that is because I was there. It was my birthday, and I'm the one that got up and sang Where My Heart Will Take Me. That was me. Secondly, the woman that took over that portion is speak his name, and there he is. Hi, Kal-El. Or as he is also known, Shuttle Podcat One. The woman that took over karaoke, her name is Stephanie, and she is one of the owners of Creation. I don't know how long Garrett and Anthony hung out. I guess they kind of left pretty quickly after Connor and Dominic left, because I sort of left after Connor and Dominic left. But yeah, Stephanie took over as the host for the last hour. So hopefully that answered your question. But yeah, so if you were there and you saw them, Connor, bring somebody up to the stage to sing Happy Birthday that sang the theme to Enterprise, that was me. It turns out that Ryan T. Husk was there too. It's just amazing how many people I'm finding out were actually at that show. I'm like, oh, well, then you saw me. And I also have plans to hang out with Ryan and Rico and whoever else makes it out to STLV this year. You're very welcome. I am planning on being there, whether or not I have to wear a mask or not. If my Enterprise boys are there, y'all know I'm going to be there. If y'all can't make it out, then as usual, I will be offering to ask anyone a question. These are the rules for the questions at STLV. If you go to Creation's website and look up and go to the guest list page for Star Trek Las Vegas, anybody who is listed as in the vendor's room, signing autographs in the vendor's room, is quote unquote fair game. They are there. Yay, domestic, then you'll have to come say hi. You'll definitely have to come to karaoke. Connor's already pretty much going to let me sing. It's a given. Anyway, so it's a thing now. I have to go sing the theme. Anyway, but if you can't make it like domestic, and I don't know if Chris has tickets, but if you can't make it, this is the rule. Anybody that is listed as signing autographs in the vendor's room, that means that they are kind of open. They're in the vendor's room. There's nobody from creation. There's no ticket lines where they're literally only kind of available specifically to sign autographs. Those people I can't get to unless I have some sort of prior relationship with, but usually that's not the case. The relationships that I have are with people that are in the vendor's room. And even if I don't have a relationship with somebody in the vendor's room, there's a chance I can at least walk up and ask them for their time. Unless it's Star Trek Discovery, those are going to be the people that are on lockdown. Even though they're in the vendor's room, that they're going to be really tough to get to. I've actually talked to Anson Mount once when he was at shore leave last year about doing my podcast, and I haven't been able to follow up with him. I might have to do that sometime soon. But when it comes to Discovery and Star Trek Las Vegas, that's kind of off the table. But anybody else, I'm more than happy to talk to and see if they wouldn't mind answering questions. Last year, obviously, it was Connor and Dominic. I had a question for Nicole. I was fortunate enough to have a question for Aaron Eisenberg, which that sort of got screwed up because I wasn't as good with my recording equipment as I am now. But I still did get a chance to talk to him. He had to call me. He actually had to call me after the convention because he's so sweet. He was so sweet. He had lost his voice and he didn't want to talk to me with bad vocal cords. So he waited a couple days, and it was the Wednesday after Vegas, and I called him and the recording got screwed up somehow. So that was sort of, but most of his answers were still audible. You just couldn't hear me. And I agree with you, domestic, karaoke, and STLV. They are awesome sauce. Chase, I would love to be able to tell you that I could get Chase Masterson to answer a question if you had one for her. And I would definitely try to answer a question. But the problem with Chase is the challenge with Chase is she is one of the busiest, hardest working actors there. Besides doing her booth and besides doing things for pop culture, she also does a show at Quarks every night. They have a little bar set up. They call it Quarks. And she's there every night singing. Plus, she's usually doing something for the gala. So, yes, I can try and track Chase down, but unless I corner her in a restroom and shove a recorder in her face, I'm not sure I'd get to be able to ask her a question. And I'm not sure she'd appreciate that either. But like I said, a lot of the times, the other people that I could probably approach would be the guest stars. Like last year was Carolyn McCormick. I had a lovely conversation with Carolyn McCormick. Stephen Weber's awesome. I wish they asked him back. Olivia DeBow, because their tables aren't necessarily that busy, just because timing or whatnot. So it's just a balance of being able to find when people are busy and when they're not. I mean, I made an appointment for my podcast questions with Connor and Dominic, and even then, it was tough because I showed up when I was supposed to, and Connor was somewhere. But obviously I got it done. That was probably the most fun. That was also the audio I was using to test my stuff out today. That's why it's sort of in the front of mind. Oh, Podcat, what do you want? What do you want? Come on. There you go. Come on. Thank you. See, he's such a superstar. He's such a diva right now. He knows everybody loves him, so he had to come in. Thank you for not disappointing me and showing up. And so anyway, anything else anybody wants to talk about before we call it a night? I actually hit my half-hour mark. I am excited. Oh, and I have another viewer. Thank you, whoever just popped in. I see that I have another viewer. So I love this. This is so much fun. I mean, I will take 4 people for my first ever live podcast stream. That's just so freaking awesome. Oh, hold on a second, guys. I got to... Oh, Christopher Abbott's a new subscriber. That's what that was. Thank you, Christopher Abbott. I really appreciate it. Oh, where am I? Okay. Maybe get Chase to pre-record an answer for you in advance. But that sort of defeats the purpose of doing a live interview. And honestly, even that's kind of tough because it took literally the coronavirus to get her on the show. And even then, she is just one of the busiest people. We actually talked when I was in Las Vegas for Gallifrey 1, because Lambda Quadrant had a party. It was our first West Coast event. So I went out to LA for that. And we were fundraising for Chase. And I said to Chase there, I was like, I would love to have you on the podcast. And she said, yeah, we'll make a plan. But she's so hard to just get to sit still. And like I said, even with Corona, she was still, it was still tough to get her to sit still. But I got lucky and she came on the podcast. So even if I was able to record something with her in advance, I'm not sure that would have happened. But I can let her know in advance. I mean, if you get your questions to me before I leave for Las Vegas, I can at least be like, Chase, maybe before, or she usually, I don't know when she leaves. Like, she usually leaves right when it's over. But maybe if she comes in early, I can sit down with her at some point, by the pool or something before the craziness starts for 5 minutes. But yeah, if somebody's got a question for Chase, I'm more than happy to see about getting an answer from her. Who else? Oh, JG and Bob are a couple of the other people that I've interviewed. They're a pair, interviewing them, even when you interview them separately, because they sit next to each other. They're incredibly fun. Yes, she did do the TEDx Vienna, and that's something that you can also find on YouTube if you want to track it down. She has been very vocal about staying safe and how we're going to get through this pandemic together. And it's definitely something that you all should check out, the TEDx Vienna. You can find it right here on YouTube. It actually kind of goes into another project that I'm working on, which is a documentary film. The woman that produced Connor and Bob's short film, Ben Franklin, the one that I've been talking about incessantly, she's doing, we've gotten a group together that fortunately includes me, and we're doing a documentary about the world and how it's changed and how we're all getting through this hashtag all in it together. And Chase was talking to Chase about contributing to that as well, and she mentioned this TEDx Vienna. So hopefully maybe part of that will appear in the documentary. Don't know, haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to her about it. Again, because she's just been running around. And in fact, this weekend, Creation has jumped on the bandwagon. They're, a little late to the game because we were there first, but they are doing some virtual panels, and Chase is doing a Q&A with Creation, I believe this weekend. So if you want to head over to, actually, you know what? Just go follow Chase on Twitter. She's tweeting about it. How about that? How about if I just tell you all to go follow Chase Masterson on Twitter, so you can get information on her Q&A with Creation instead of following Creation? Go follow Chase, because we like Chase better. I love Creation, but I like Chase better. So anyway, if that's about it, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on my very first video thing. They are going to get better, I promise, because I'm going to figure out how to get video effects and all the stuff that you saw Lambda Quadrant do. I'm just going to have somebody from Lambda Quadrant give me a tutorial about how to get all that stuff up here for myself. Because, what's the point of having, friends with all these amazing talents if you can't use them? So, or get advice, I should say. Shouldn't say use your friends, because that's rude. Anyway, thank you all, obviously, for coming out, Christopher and Domestic. And you know what? This is going to be a thing now. My podcast is going to be simulcasting from now on. You can catch me video or you can catch me audio every Monday night, live 10 East, and then up and through the end of this whole social distancing thing. I'm also going to be doing Wednesdays as well. Thank you all for joining me. Catch you all Monday night. Until then, live long and prosper.